Salute to all the Patreon members. I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. Salute to all the subscribers, all the new viewers. I want to thank you guys for your support. Like, subscribe, share this video. I wanted to make this video to show you it's a bit of nostalgia for me because, you know, on YouTube, certain places in China, you know, they show more of the downtown scene or the foreigner district. I'm pretty sure nowadays they show a lot more different neighborhoods and stuff like that. But I came across this video on TikTok, and I don't know what town he's from in China, but it was a bit of nostalgia because it kind of looked like the neighborhood that I was living in when I was in Beijing. All right. So back then, when I was living in China, I did take pictures. I didn't take a lot of videos because I didn't have it in my mind to be a YouTuber or to even get on YouTube or share videos like that on YouTube. By the time I wanted to make videos on YouTube, I had already been away from China for about 4 years at that moment in time. So I didn't have enough pictures and videos to share with anybody online about the area that I lived in or vlogging, you know, what I go through on a day-to-day basis or what I went through on a day-to-day basis in China. I didn't think about uploading videos on YouTube at that time or live streaming. All right. But this guy right here, he has a TikTok page and he talks about his life, what it's like living in China, the neighborhood that he lives in. And some of his views are kind of, I would say, a little bit, you know, anti-American. Like, it's funny how he has an Under Armour shirt, right? And the headquarters of Under Armour is in Baltimore, Maryland. But one of his most popular videos that he has on TikTok that he has pinned to the top with like over 25 million views. It says, "Hey, let me show you all the things that are American in my home." Nothing. I don't have nothing from America in my home. What do you have from that's made in China that's in your home? Tell me. And he, you know, he kind of laughs about it. And it's like this video right here, clearly, you know, this is an American brand. So whatever. And there's other videos where he's, you know, talking about, you know, addressing people from MAGA and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, you're all the way in China. Why are you worried about MAGA? All right. But those are his views, right? I'm not trying to, this isn't a video about his views. His name is Bud Ha Wang. I want to show this video about the neighborhood he lives in. I want you to check out his other videos like this, similar to this, basically talking about life in China. And I'm going to stop and pause for a little bit and give my 2 cents and tell you, you know, kind of the experience that I had. Like, hey, yeah, this right here. This is exactly what I would see when I was walking around in Beijing. All right, so let's go.
In this video, I'm going to share with you my neighborhood, the under middle class people. They do not have debt, but savings. What a kind of relaxing life they are having. Tonight, I walked to a Muslim restaurant in my neighborhood to have my dinner.
Okay, so over here, you see that there are women of a certain age just gathered around. There's music playing, and they're doing kind of a, you know, like a dance exercise to stay, you know, fit, right? Keep their body movement, you know, keep their body moving, excuse me, and just not sit in one place all the time. You see this all over China, right? Everywhere you go in Beijing, they tend to do this towards the afternoon and the evening. Did they do it in the morning? I don't remember. Salute to J Bone, salute to Ozzy. I don't remember them doing this in the morning. Usually, like in Beijing, because this isn't Beijing, all right. But in Beijing, a lot of people, especially people of a certain age, would go down to Tiananmen Square for the raising of the flag, right? They would sing the Chinese national anthem. They would raise the flag. A lot of people gather around there in the morning, all right? But at night, in different pockets of Beijing, in different neighborhoods, you would see this, women dancing.
In China, people after dinner come outside, dancing, relaxing is very common. In China,
if you see, you know, the stores, the banners, typical banner, you know, you see a lot of maroon or red banners, green, all right, yellow. You see a lot of yellow, green, bright, you know, blue banners. Thank you, J Bones, for the $1.99 super sticker with Chinese characters.
most people retire at 60 years old, and some people retire at 55 years old. Some women, they retire at 50 years old.
Okay, so this looks like a typical neighborhood, you know, when I was in Beijing. You can, I would say there's a little bit of haze in this video, but it could just be his camera. But in Beijing, you know, especially when I was living there, I haven't been there in 10 years, but in Beijing 10 years ago, PM 2.5 every single day. So you remember a couple years ago, or maybe was it last year, when I think it was like the East Coast, the New England area, New York, it was covered in, it was orange, right? The skies were orange. Everybody was wearing masks. I think, you know, Canada got a bit of that too over in Toronto. That's what it looks like every single day. If you remember those images, I might Google it, but later on. But if you remember those images, if you could pull that up on your phone, that's almost every day in Beijing. All right. That orange haze is almost every day in Beijing. It would only go away after it rained or if it was very windy the night before. So if it was PM 2.5 all day and then you know, on your way home, it starts raining, you're like, okay, good. I know it's going to be a good day tomorrow. Because it rains, all that haze will go away and the sky's probably going to be clear, or at least, you know, if it's still cloudy, the air is going to be clear the next day after it rains. Or, you know, if you're on your way home and by the time you get home at night, you hear the wind blowing, it's very windy, that's when you know it's going to be a clear day the next day. All right.
For all these
but
people,
this is
they don't have that.
This right here is like a typical neighborhood. You know, you see banners with Chinese characters on it. I never knew what it meant, but you know, you would see apartment buildings, condo buildings. Many of these buildings, especially in the areas that I lived in, some of them were new, some of them were old, but they would look old, but they weren't old. So you would have buildings that were only 5 years old, but they look much older than that, right? Due to the quality of the air and the, you know, the materials they would use, not the best quality that they would use to build the buildings. All
Years
right.
old. For all these people, they don't have that. They have their own homes and enough.
Looks exactly like a typical neighborhood, you know, when I was in Beijing, right? This kind of feels like when I was in, what's that college area? That college area that I used to go to. It's on the north side of Beijing. Damn, I can't remember the name of it right now. But it'll come to me. When I used to get off the train line, it looked just like this.
Savings They are not having luxury life, but a very basic life, but also very simple and relaxing. This is a difference socialism and capitalism. This is a Muslim restaurant in my neighborhood. There are 4 Muslim restaurants in my neighborhood. Uyghur restaurant and a Muslim restaurant is all over China. Every single city,
So obviously you can see these are
every single
workers,
city.
right? And he has, chopsticks with noodles. Whenever you go to a restaurant in China and they're eating noodles, just be prepared to hear everybody slurp their noodles very, very loud. Right. And the reason why they do that is because I guess it's showing respect to the chef, saying like, oh, okay, no, this is really, really good. So if you go to somebody's house, they invite you over and they cook something for you, and like it might be a bowl of noodles. They'll slurp it loudly if it's good, right? You can't really do that over here in America. You slurp noodles or you eat food, like you wolf it down, or you smacking it really, really loud. People are gonna check you about that. They're gonna be like, "Hey, look, like, did you grow up with wolves? Did you grow up with animals? Didn't you have a mother that taught you, table manners?" Right? Especially if somebody invites you over and you're doing this in front of their family. When you leave, they're gonna tell you like, "Hey, don't invite him over again, ever again." All right. But like, let's say you were sitting next to him and his coworker right here, you would hear the both of them slurping their noodles loudly. And that's just the culture over there. It just means that it's really, really good.
Every neighborhood, you can find at least one Muslim restaurant in China.
He said it's a Muslim restaurant. This menu don't look anything of what's on a Muslim restaurant. This is Si Jiaozi. So I used to, the dumplings, like I used to eat these all the time. All right. But it's like a typical restaurant in a Chinese neighborhood.
And here is the noodle.
Oh my God. Hey, let me tell you, if you go to China, all right, or Japan, China too, right? Certain places in China, all right, certain places. See, there's always certain restaurants or certain food cafes or canteens in a mall you could go to, food courts in a mall you could go to, where you get this. Thailand, you get the negi soba, right? It looks like this. At different Japanese restaurants in Thailand, or you go to Japan and get you some negi soba. This right here is crack. This is crack in a bowl. All right. You eat this, and a lot of the food in China is very filling, right? So you don't, America, you get second and thirds and, large portions. You don't need large portions in China to feel full. I used to go to a mom and pop restaurant. It would just be fried rice and vegetables and eggs. And for whatever reason, it was very, very filling. And it would only cost me like $1.60. And it's like, damn, I'm good for the rest of the day. Right. But this right here, even though you're full after you eat it, man, like, you got to get you another bowl until your stomach pops. Like this right here is crack. All right. All that, the juices, the sauce is crack. I don't know what that is, but this right here, this is the very good. Look like. Yeah, that's typically what outside of, like these are apartment buildings upstairs. And downstairs is some buildings, not all of them. Not all of them. Like, there are people that live in old buildings. This is how it looks. In every neighborhood in China. You can see where they got this idea from. You can see where they got this idea from. So when you go around anywhere in China, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, you're going to see familiar brands and labels wherever you go. And that's because these companies, they start off opening up shop in China, and then China will make a Chinese version of that same brand that's similar, very similar, right? And kind of, run them out the market in China. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, it's almost like the same exact thing as 7-Eleven. Colors, everything, the sign, probably the interior, everything. But it's kind of like 7-Eleven isn't a Chinese brand, so why don't we make a Chinese company of our own and get rid of 7-Eleven?
You can see many different small restaurants, all affordable.
Right, so you'll have, these are, older buildings, and you have businesses at the bottom, but some of these buildings are, it's one family per room. Some of them might be dorms, right? So this whole section right here, what floor is this? Like the 4th floor? This whole floor right here, there might be 10 different people living there. But, it's like, it'll be a door. And as soon as you go through a door, you walk into a day room. And in that day room, there might be 4 or 5 different other doors and a kitchen. It looks like a college dorm, but these are adults, right? And, they might be living with their boyfriend and girlfriend, or they might be single. It might be 5 to 10 people living in there. And they all share a kitchen. And most of them probably share a bathroom. They share wash machine and dryer. And one person, there might be one room that actually has a restroom with a shower in there, and that's the person who's spending the most money in that room. All right. Another thing is, if people all together, this is certain buildings. All right. These dorms that I just explained to you, where there's multiple people living in like one unit, large day room, other rooms, like a college dorm, but it's adults, working adults, right? Everybody's on the same electrical plan, if you know what I'm saying, if you know what I mean. So that one dorm unit of 5 to 10 people that live there, they all have to chip in and figure out when are they going to pay the bill when it comes to the electricity, right? So you don't pay a bill for yourself for your room, all right? Everybody does. So if you're not the one who's taking charge, collecting money from everybody, going down to the going to the store to pay your bill, or going to the shop to pay the electricity bill. I forget exactly where he took me, but he took me to this storefront where you go to pay your bill for that unit. But I couldn't do it because it was all in Chinese. What they do is they cut the electricity, they cut the power off at midnight. And in the wintertime, it gets very cold in Beijing. So from midnight to whatever you got, or whatever time you got to head out in the morning, there's no heat, there's no lights, there's no electricity, there's nothing. So everything in the refrigerator, it can spoil if you don't pay the bill soon enough. You're freezing. And then when you try to take a shower in the morning, it's freezing water. All right. So, but yeah, this is what a neighborhood looks like in China.
And each restaurant is owned by a family. These small business owners.
I know. Hold on. I know this symbol right here. I know this symbol right here is Da. The other ones I don't know, but I know this is Da.
These small business owners, they also barely pay any.
All right, you know, look at this. Like these are the buildings are quite weathered. You know, they're weathered. And then, cause I used to live in a building kind of like this in the beginning. And man, let me tell you, a building like this, like I won't say these right here, but I used to live in a building like this, and there was a gang of roaches in there too. All right. And you know, the interior, it wasn't renovated.
Tax. If the capitalism is so good for all the billionaire, ultra rich, and socialism providing all the under middle class people a stable.
All right, so this is another typical. This is also what you see in a Chinese neighborhood, where you have the produce. They'll have the shop right here. They'll have the produce outside, and then so there's fruits and vegetables on the outside and fruits and vegetables on the inside. There was one shop just like this around the way from me in Beijing, and who I don't know if it was them. I don't know if somebody was playing around, but in the middle of, I think it was bananas. So, you know, they had like, you know, the apples out there, then they had the grapes out there, then they had the bananas out there. And some of the bananas were fake. They were plastic. They were like toy bananas in the middle of all the real bananas. And I'm like, what kind of shit is that? I took a picture of it. It's in my iPad, but I didn't upload it. Actually, it's on this computer. I have to dig for it. I would have to dig for it, but you would see that like in the middle of all the produce that's laid out outside of the stores. For whatever reason, some of them are like, you're like, okay, nice apple, nice. Okay, no, this is a fake plastic apple. Like,
and affordable,
I don't know why.
Less stress life. Here again.
You know, and look, there's really no foreigners here, especially, you know, you as a black person walking up and down this strip trying to buy fruits and vegetables. Everybody's going to turn their heads to stare at you. All right. And then especially like the older Chinese men, I don't know if a lot of them are deaf. I don't know what they've been through, but they talk really, really loud, especially when they're on the phone. They're like screaming on the phone, but they're just having a regular conversation. And okay, I ordered a taxi for you. It's like, damn, did he owe you money? Did he owe you a favor? But that's just how they talk. Like they talk really, really loud over the phone. I don't think they can hear that well. Right? But they might roll up on you talking really, really loud. And, you know, of course, like if you don't know Chinese, you're not going to understand what they're saying over here. But this isn't in Beijing or Shanghai anywhere. This is like in a small, what's considered a small town.
The grocery market outside. I have shown you guys a few times. Now I'm waiting for the bus to take me home. The night's getting darker. I bought some watermelon and the sausage and some popcorn.
Wow, that's kind of odd. That's a strange pickup from the store right there. This man said he bought watermelon, sausage, and popcorn. That's his dinner. Okay. All right. I got another video after this, so bear with me. The other one is much longer. The other one's like 6 minutes. All right. This one's only like 2, but the other one's 6 minutes.
Every street have so many restaurants, convenience stores. So in China, in the city, in every neighborhood, you got everything you need for daily life within walking distance. Okay, I'm home now. Thanks for watching.
And that's another thing you'll see in a Chinese. I mean, this is considered the home. I don't like calling it condo or apartment. It's really their home, right? They don't have traditional Western houses like we do. Typically, you know, people live in buildings, right? Stacked on, you know, kind of like apartment buildings, condos and stuff like that. But it's each home, they own it. It's their house. But you'll see Chinese, respectfully, I'll just say decorations on the front of the door, just like this.
Thanks for watching.
And oops, hold on.
Thanks
Just like
for
this. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to catch the other one too. Hold on.
Okay, I'm home now. Thanks for watching.
And this right here, right? Normally, when you walk in a building in China where people live in, this is normal, what you see on the front of their door. All right. So I got another video. 1 second. Let me download it. So what did y'all think of that? What did y'all think of that? This one right here is a little bit longer. It's a little over 6 minutes. Could you see yourself living in a neighborhood like that?
Spend 300.
All right. Here we go. Here's another video. All right.
Spend $300 per month to live in my neighborhood in China.
Only $300 a month. He's not lying. Well, I'm sure if he, you know, on a budget, and let's say you're on vacation and you don't go anywhere, you look up, you know, okay, I only spent $300. Yeah. All right. But these, you know, $300 a month, that's probably in a much smaller town, right? So in the big cities, when you go to like Beijing, Nanjing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, you'll meet a lot of people that aren't from those cities. They're from smaller towns. And during Chinese holidays, which is in February, they'll say, or Chinese New Year, excuse me, they'll say, hey, I'm going back to my hometown, you know, for Chinese New Year. All right. So you'll meet a lot of people. Same thing in Thailand and Bangkok. You meet a lot of people who aren't really from Bangkok, or they're not from the big city. Right.
If I do not eat outside half of the time or call food delivery, all I need is $150 every month.
He's not lying. So those restaurants I showed you earlier, they're not that expensive. They're probably like 10 yuan. I know in Beijing, I like those that negi soba bowl, which I know they don't call that in China, but a bowl like that with the skewer sticks and like green tea or water, that might be like 10 yuan, and that's like $1.40. So you don't have to buy groceries if you don't want to in China.
Covers everything: food, electricity, water, everything. In this video, I'm going to share with you the cost.
Okay, so typically in front of apartment buildings, there's always a small, you know, playground for kids in China. I have seen that. When I was in Beijing, there was one person that I was visiting. He was African. I forget what part of Africa he was from. But I went over to his building to visit him, and they had like a little playground like this in the front. He was married to a Chinese woman, and he has a son with a Chinese woman. His son is probably... His son got to at least be like 16 or 17 now. All right. But I remember there was a lady sitting on the edge of this slide with her son. And I guess he had to use the restroom. And he was like a toddler. And she was laid back at the edge of this slide, and she had him laid back on her chest with his with his pants pulled down, and while he pissed in the air, and the piss landed like, you know, on this green part in front of the slide. And I was just like, all right, if he has to go, there's the grass. Why would you have your son piss on? But anyways, I'm just telling you what I saw when I was over there.
Of living in China for under middle class. Also the tax for under middle
Yeah, I could
class.
also imagine too, J Bones. But at the time when I met his son was only like 4 or 5 years old. So I wonder how he's doing now.
In China, if your monthly income is under 20,000 yuan, roughly $2,800 per month, you are considered as under middle class.
That's not true. And he goes on, he contradicts himself later on. He said if your income is under 20,000 yuan, you're under middle class. No, because the average income for somebody with like a degree, it's only, at the time, it was only like 6,000 yuan. Somebody who graduated from college, you know, on average. But mind you, this was back in 2015, so things have changed. But he goes on to say later on what I just said. But back then, the average person with a degree living in China, they were only making 6,000 yuan, 6,000 to 7,000 yuan a month, which at the time it was like $900 to $1,000 a month, US dollars. Whereas like the teachers, the school teachers, the foreign teachers, we were making 20,000 plus. All right. And we had a lot of disposable income. See, 20,000 at the time, this is when the Chinese dollar was like 10,000 yuan was $1,600 at the time. I think it's like 1,400 now or 1,300. But 10 years ago, 10,000 yuan was like 1,600. Right. So the goal, the minimum for a foreigner, like your goal, you should be hitting 20,000 yuan every single month. All right. But, you know, there's some go-getters out there that was, you know, making double that, you know, or 30, 40,000 yuan. You know what I'm saying? So, but you'll see what I mean later on.
1,000 yuan, roughly $2,800 per month. You are
at the time, 20,000 yuan 10 years ago, it was 3,200.
Considered as under middle class. My monthly income is under that level because I stopped working since 28 years old.
He said he stopped working at 28.
Even though I have money to travel around to other country, but when I live here, I still live in an under middle class living standard. I'm living a very simple life here. I don't even have a car.
Yeah, in China, you don't need a car. When I was living in China, I didn't have a car. I didn't even have a motorbike when I was over there. And most people that had a bike, it wasn't even a motorbike. It was it was an electric bike, but it wasn't like a go-go or a Gogoro, right? It was just like a regular, kind of like just a regular mongoose frame bike with like a car battery. It's like a car battery, right? I used to see bikes like those, but I never even got an electric bike when I was in China. I would always get around through, you know, either train or taxi or bus.
Also barely go out. I don't need a car. So every month, the money I need to pay is electricity, gas, water, and HOA and internet.
Okay, you see this right here. Certain places in, especially where there's a lot of traffic, you'll see this. High volume traffic, you'll see this. You'll see, this is normal. You'll see like a white gate or white fence in the middle of the road dividing opposite sides of traffic. You see this a lot in China. certain places also, you'll see this in the middle, and then over here you'll see another white gate for people who either are riding their bicycles or they're riding their electrical bikes to get around. All right, and they're bolted to the ground. I believe they're bolted to the ground. All right, so in case for whatever reason, if you have an accident, it doesn't, it's not that easy to just knock over this barrier. You see what I'm saying? And you're pretty much safe.
My internet is $10 per month. Electricity, gas, water.
Yeah, it is that cheap. And mind you, he lives in the countryside of China. So when I was living in China, I forgot how much my internet was, but I remember my cell phone bill was $3 a month. All right. Like my cell phone bill was about $3 a month, and that gave me unlimited internet. Now, could I surf the free surface web, Western web with that? No, but I had a VPN. So using the VPN with the internet that I had from my cell phone provider, it was only $3 a month. It's that cheap.
Altogether, $10 is enough. My HOA fee is $25 per month. No mortgage, no tax. That is all the money I have to pay every single month. About the
yeah, that's another thing. I don't think there's any tax like that in China. Like nobody ever took taxes out of my salary. Whenever I would go to, get something to eat and pay for lunch or pay for dinner or whatever, whatever the listing price was, that's how much you pay. Now for Western products, so if you go in the Nike store, there's going to be tax. There's taxes, right? But I believe, or you just paying the inflated imported price over in China from what I remember. But, whatever the listed price is, that's how much you pay.
Price of the grocery, I'm going to walk through the grocery market. You can see the price there. And the price is half kilogram, 500 G. In China, we have 900 cities.
That's a lot.
My city name is Fushun. My city has
Fushun.
1.7 million population.
So there's 1.7 million people that live in the city that he lives in now. To us, that's a large city, right? In America, a city of 1.7 million people, damn, that's a lot of people. In China, that's nothing, right? That's like a small town to them, 1.7 million. Remember, like Beijing, I think there's like 26 million people that live in Beijing, right? Beijing population, 21.8 million people. So you're talking about his town versus, the population that's in Beijing. 1.7 compared to 22 million people. You see what I'm saying? So Fushun, China. Let's see, where is this located? Oh, okay, damn. It's not too far. It's like northeast of Beijing. Right? It's not too far from North Korea. All right. Yeah, he's not too far from North Korea. I guess the next biggest town is Shenyang. All right, so he's up there. He's up there northeast of Beijing.
There is a bigger city, has 10 million population. It's about a 1 hour drive from my city. Even that bigger city, our daily cost is not much different. China is very big, a little bit bigger than United States. But the electricity, gas, water, and the gasoline, all this price is same in China, no matter which city you are in. My city is one of the poorest city in China. And for those,
And for him to say that his city's one of the poorest, like, look how nice, you know, as far as I could live in a city like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you are on fixed income, like, let's say, you know, you make $3,000 a month, right? And it's you and your lady, y'all would pretty much have a decent quality of life over here. All right. All the restaurant, you know, the food, good. And, you know, as long as they got a movie theater to go to every once in a while, they got nice parks, you know, you're good.
upper middle class Americans, if you want to compare the life standard, you need to compare with upper middle class in China or middle class in China.
See, these condos, you know, they don't look that bad over here.
Please don't compare with our under middle class Chinese people. And some Americans say that in China, people make $500 per month. If you want to compare with $500 per month income Chinese people, you need to use your homeless people to compare with them. Those people are poorest considered in China.
See, $500 a month. That's somebody without education who graduated out of high school, who's, you know, probably working a job, you know, that's, you know, labor, or, you know, starting their own business, or they have their own business in a market like this. All right.
In my city, average income is like $900 per month.
See, I told you, $900 per month.
Which is 6,300 yuan.
See, you know, they have storefronts like this at markets, you know, and you see different kind of apples that you've never seen before in China, right? The fruit looks good.
And here I'm walking inside the grocery market along the street. All the stuff you can see here is all affordable for our under middle class Chinese people. All these individual small business owners, they don't pay tax at all. In China, majority of
they don't pay taxes at all. So it's all money in.
Chinese, we barely pay any tax.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're being taxed somehow for having your stall here at a market. I don't think having a stall at a market is free. So, you know, I could be wrong, but, you know, you're being taxed one way or another.
Especially for us under middle class income people. Look, all these individual small business owners, not only they don't pay tax, their sales also not calculated into China's GDP. And in China, we have so many individual small business owners.
Yeah, see, this is like a typical, I've walked through Chinese neighborhoods just like this. Could you imagine walking through a neighborhood like this? Nobody speaks English. You're not only are you the only foreigner there, you're the only black foreigner. And people are looking at you like, what the hell is that? You know, like I've had to walk through neighborhoods like this. It'd be like a long strip, a long street, and you got to go to building 20, you know, because somebody hired you for English tutoring. So you just walking through a neighborhood like this, and you know, especially elderly people, some of them that walk with their hands behind their back held together, and they just all turn and stare at you. It's it's different.
In every single city, every neighborhood, you can find this kind of small business owner grocery market. Like I said, China GDP is very solid. It's not a big bubble like United States. So many things we don't even call.
I used to see this all the time. I see a lot of people eating this in different shops would make this, but I never tried it. Like I never tried it because, you know, I was just staying away from bread. but bread is made differently in other countries than in America. See, America, there's a lot of like folic acid in bread, and certain other countries they don't put folic acid, in their food like how America does. And sometimes you got to get out of that mindset. Try other foods when you go to a different country. Don't think, because you look at it and it's like, that might upset my stomach, but it probably won't, right? So
we don't even calculate into GDP in China. Also in small city in China,
you see this, man, it's like you got a husband and wife. More than likely it's hold on.
Each
husband and wife, she's probably her mother, family business. They probably got kids, working, supporting each other. You couldn't do this in America with sisters, right? Hey, let's open a food stall and sell bread and all kind of let's make bread and omelets and pizzas, and let's make a food stall. Quit our jobs and go into business with each other. Let's support each other. And, man, you try to explain that to a sister, she's like, ugh, I can't be seen like that on the gram. So, okay. All right. Okay. But, over there in China, you see a lot of husband and wife, couple businesses over there.
City in China, we all own our own homes. Each family owns 2 or 3 homes. That's a very common thing in small cities. And even the young people working in Beijing or Shanghai, they don't have their own home in Beijing or Shanghai. They definitely have their own home in their hometown.
Yeah, it's very expensive in Beijing and Shanghai. It's like it's so expensive. It's to own a home. I mean, the prices for homes in Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, it's outrageous.
I was working in Beijing in my 20s. I cannot buy a home in Beijing, too expensive for me, but it's so easy for me to buy a home in my hometown. When your daily cost is so cheap, you have your own home, no need to pay mortgage, no tax.
See, man, look at those bananas.
It's so easy for me to
look at this. I don't know what kind of fruit. I don't know if that is watermelon. There might be like, organic watermelons, because, the fruit in America, it's been processed, Monsanto, crossbreed. You got these big plump fruits, and there's big fruits in this video too, but these may or may not be watermelons. These might be some other type of fruit, but they look interesting. They look good though.
Buy a home in my hometown. When your daily cost is so cheap, you have your own home.
Look at those bananas. Oh my God. Them bananas look good, don't they?
No need to pay mortgage, no tax. It's very easy for you to save money every single month. In China, average people.
Yeah, see, yeah, this is like a normal neighborhood in Beijing. You got the burglar bars in front of the windows. Yeah, this is exactly what a Chinese neighborhood looks like in China.
Can save 50% of the income. $5,000, you can buy a home in my city.
Did you hear what he said? He said for $5,000, you could buy a home in his city. Right? So imagine, especially brothers that are into African women and they're into importing, exporting. It's like you can have a woman post up, in like a town like this, and then she goes into the city every once in a while at some of these markets, and import export. You help her out, make money importing and exporting stuff from out of China to Africa, and she has an income, and then she builds up her clientele, and then now she's making a bunch of money, and now she's paying for you, taking you on vacations. You know what I'm saying? So, like I've explored that before, but a home in his hometown for only $5,000, that's not bad.
Average people can save 50% of the income.
I don't know what that gets you though.
$5,000, you can buy a home in my city. Of course, it's gonna be an old building.
Yeah, and then some of the
city.
Some of the stores, especially the grocery stores, some of them they don't even have a door. It's like they have the plastic, the thick plastic drapes.
Of course, it's gonna be an old building, but it can still be a decent home. Much better compared to sleep on the street. China is socialism, and China definitely don't want anyone to be homeless, because since history, when you have many homeless, your society is not stable.
He makes a good point. I mean, we're headed down that path in America. We're headed down that path in about 5 years.
Or if you make your people's life living so difficult, so stressful, it's terrible for the society. One day they will get enough and throw over your regime. Like
he makes a great point. You can't have that many homeless people, and the people that in your country are stressed out, because like he said,
in China history, so many times, those people who got oppressed by the government overthrow the government. So China has learned that lesson, taking care of our own people, so the society is safe and stable for our people to live in.
Yeah, this is like this is like a typical like a mom and pop restaurant in China, right? This is like normally how to look. I've been in multiple restaurants in Beijing that look exactly like this. They have the menu in the front, or they have the menu on the side of the wall. I've seen menus where there were no pictures. It was just a wall full of writing, and I'm like, damn, I don't know what to order. And then people in the restaurant would help me order food. They would translate for me.
Stable for our people to live in. No one need to steal. This bowl of noodle is 10 yuan.
See, I told you, didn't I tell you that earlier? It's 10 yuan, and this will fill you up for the rest of the day.
And $1.5. You see, I'm not kidding with you. If I cook by myself every month, I only need $150 to cover everything. My internet $10 per month, including the phone bills, is the highest price in my neighborhood. You can get $5 ones.
Damn.
And HOA fee covers garbage, sewage, elevator maintenance, public area, cleaning and maintenance. Okay, now you see how affordable to live in China it is.
All right, man. So what did y'all think of that? How do you like China? Yeah, that was in a small town, but remember, small towns over there, population is still in the millions. That's a small town considered to them. Could you see yourself living somewhere like that? Right? Let's take an online business or whatever. You making $2,000-$3,000 a month, and you could live comfortably in a place like China, just like that. You don't have to work. Get you a house. Food is cheap. Living in an area like that, could you see yourself living somewhere like that? I would do it. It looks peaceful. Yeah, like, I ran into a lot of racism when I was working, when I was trying to get a job and stuff like that. In the neighborhood, you get stares. Nobody bothered me or whatever. But people really tell you how they feel when it comes to their kids, and they want a teacher to teach their kids English. You see what I'm saying? But if you weren't trying to start a business and you weren't really looking for a job, you know, you know, you make all the money that you need every single month on your own, you know, passive income or whatever. You're not looking for a job or starting a business over there. Yeah, it's like that. Like $10 a month for internet and phone bill. He's not lying. It would probably be great for teaching because no one is going there. True. You'd probably be the only English teacher there, and everybody would have to go to you, and then people would have to suck up their pride and be like, yeah, he's black, but you know, he speaks English. Now, if you speak English and Chinese, oh, okay, damn. You on a totally different level. If you can speak Chinese and English, then you don't even need to be in a small town like that. You need to be in Beijing or Shenzhen or Shanghai, right? You make money hand over fist. But you speak English and Chinese, and you pretty much got that whole entire area on lock. All right. But, you know, I was living like that for a while, but I was working. I was addicted to the food in certain places in China. Not everywhere, but certain restaurants. Man, them bowls of noodles and dumplings, like the sauce they would have, it was good. It was good. I'm more worried about peace. Yeah. Especially when it comes to dating and then children, and you know, that's when you run into a lot of problems. See, you as a man, you can kind of deal with the bullshit and brush it off or check people the way you need to. It's when, you know, it's when your lady starts feeling it, and then your children starts feeling it. You know what I'm saying? Their food must be totally different from the USA Chinese food. I would say so, but there were some things that I didn't even touch over there. Like the fruits and vegetables, of course, I would eat. The noodles I would eat, the dumplings I would eat, you know, chicken, beef, stuff like that. But, you know, like the blood, the jellied blood on a stick, I wouldn't touch that. I'm like, no. And I used to take cute girls out on dates in China, and they would order that shit. They would order. I'm like, what is that? They're like, it's blood. I'm like, oh my God. Then after they would eat that, it's like, hey, what's up? What you want to do? Go back to your spot? I'm like, man, your breath. It's like pig blood. Hold on, I gotta show you a picture. Chinese blood on stick. Yeah, sometimes it's like cubed, like they cook it in different ways. Hold on, this I'm trying to they cook it in different ways. Pig's blood. Hold on. Wait a minute. This right here. I got it. You see that? That's what they eat. That's pig's blood. And they'll eat that with their noodles. They'll eat that with a salad. They'll eat that with their soup. And I'm like, oh, hell no. The different ways that Chinese people eat blood. Right? Pig blood cake. They'll eat duck blood, tofu served in a bowl of vermicelli, and soup is a specialty of Nanjing. I don't even know what vermicelli is. Like people would hear like, hey, you want some of this? I'm like, no, thank you. Another duck blood dish hails from Chongqing. Okay. I'm like, hey, I respect if that's what you eat. I respect sticky rice is soaked in blood and soy sauce to make pig blood cake. Hey, that's a delicacy. All this are delicacies. They love this in China. I said no, thank you. I said I'll eat everything else besides this. There were vegetables that I've never seen. There were some vegetables that I've never seen that I liked. The mushrooms that they will put in some of these dishes, I wouldn't touch it. I'm not a mushroom guy. You know, I might care how they make it in the USA, just throw them together. Blood is like a meat. Yeah, look at Ozzy. I think Ozzy, I think he's about to run to the toilet. Wrigley's gum should help with the breath. No, I'm telling you, like the soup mixed with like the blood. There's a lot of, and I mean no disrespect, but I mean that leaves like an after smell. That smell, it just lingers in their throat all day, every day. Everybody eats this. They drink the soup with all the meals and the blood. Like it's like China is notorious, especially in Beijing. It's notorious for hellacious breath over there, and it's because of the soup and the blood. So I've had this soup. I'm not into the blood, but I've tried other dishes over there. The duck is very good in China, you know, the Peking duck, but the blood, nah, I'm cool. Yep, it looks like chocolate, looks like tofu. Yeah, they eat a lot of tofu over there also. I've never had tofu before in my life. Rice is vermicelli. Oh, okay. All right, I wouldn't eat it. It's like a garlic. Yeah. So, um, but I don't know. Like, if I made enough money to where, like, if I could travel to South Korea like every 2 to 3 months and relax there for a week, then I could live in a place like his small town. I would definitely live in a place like his small town. Just stack up, and then every 3 months you go to South Korea and you visit, and then you go back, and then 3 months later you do the same thing. I would definitely do that. His hometown is like one of those places where you could come up with ideas to start a business of your own, whether it's importing, exporting. Definitely, you go over there, learn the Chinese language and take it seriously. If I were to move into his hometown, I would learn the Chinese language until I was fluent or damn good at it. And then I would take my skills to the big city. And then that's when you get the bag, learning Chinese and English. Like, you have a skill that most people don't have over there, because not only do you have the skill of English, not only do you have the skill of Chinese, and you're there in China and you see, how business and culture is conducted over there in China. You have Western culture, Western mannerisms. You know how to say certain things in English. You know how things are back home. You're not guessing, right? You're not guessing. You're the plug pretty much, right? Because a lot of people in China and different parts of Asia, man, they try to say, like, yeah, I want to go to school. I want to do this, that, and the third. And, like, there's a lot of students that I met that they were like, yeah, I want to go to America and this, that, and the third, work on my English and, network. And I'm like, okay, so what schools are you looking at? Like, what schools does your university have that are affiliates, that are over in America? And they were like, yeah, there's schools in Idaho and in Wyoming. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Right. Oh, why not? I mean, I think it'll be great. No, you'll be in the middle of fucking nowhere. You'll be in the middle of nowhere. Don't do it. All right. Now, if this is like somewhere in Cheyenne, Wyoming, then okay, because you're right there in Denver. But if you're way in like Sheridan, Wyoming, don't do it. Judith Gap, Montana, don't do it. I had a friend, he was Japanese. He was just, yeah, I want to do an exchange. I want to be an exchange student. I'm like, okay, where are they sending you? To Montana. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Right. And don't do the New York and LA thing either. Right. Look into North Carolina, Florida, Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas, anywhere in Texas, Washington State, yeah. But yeah, don't man, the affiliate. Oh, I'm so excited, I can become an exchange student in Vermont. I'm like, man, don't do it. Don't do it, man. It's nothing but toothless hillbillies and people in the witness protection program over there in Vermont. Don't do it. And it's cold as hell. Don't do it. You're not gonna live the life that you think you're gonna live going over there, right? I'm telling you, Asian people do this all the time and they come back disappointed. I remember one girl, for whatever reason, she was very nice. I was in Taiwan, very, very nice, very respectful. And she by this time when I met her, she had already graduated university, but she became an exchange student over in Russia, like a small town in Russia. And I'm like, why would you choose that? She was just like, I don't know. That's what they had available at my university. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you met a lot of fine, nice, respectful, friendly people over there when you went there, didn't you? No, not at all. I was like, well, who did you run this by? Did you talk to any foreigners before you decided to go over there and waste a year in Russia? No. Why do y'all distance yourselves from us? You can come up to us and ask us questions so you don't make these mistakes, right? You going over to Ireland and middle of nowhere in Russia, middle of nowhere in America. You going to you going to Fox Creek, Alberta? Like what are you doing? And they don't talk to any foreigners because that thing, a lot of people have this thing was like, hey, stay away from the foreigners in Asia. Can't be seen with the foreigners. And then look what happens. You become an exchange student to want to be around foreigners and you go to some of the worst places in the world. Right. And it's like they do this on their own. It's like they don't run this by anybody. They don't talk to anybody. And it's like I guess they don't think anybody could help them. I don't know. But they do this a lot. They do this a lot. They go to I met this one woman. She spent, I don't know how many years. She spent her 20s on some strawberry farm in Australia. Never found a man to marry and assimilate into Australian culture. So she ended up coming back to Taiwan at 31. And it was just like, damn, it's over. right? You're too old. According to Asian culture, you're over 25 and you wasted your youth, chasing something over in Australia, picking cherries on a farm, which is slavery. They got machines that could do all that. Why would they make you hand pick strawberries? All right. All right. But it's like, what was your goal? What plan did you have going over there? To meet a man, get married, get your citizenship, and make money. It's just, and it didn't work out that way. So, and I'm not saying people can't do that, but and everybody's different. If you're a traditional cooperative woman, then it don't matter what you do. It don't matter where you go or what you do for a living. Somebody will scoop you up and take care of you. So it's probably her. But that's neither here nor there. So, anyways, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this live stream. Hey, link in the description box below for the Patreon page. I uploaded a new video. I'm gonna upload another video after later on tonight. I wonder how much Australian meat she got before she realized she wasn't wife material. Hey, it's beyond me. Anyways, I'm over and I'm out. You guys take care. Peace.